Okay, abusuan ba makwa so so edeba POG Media so abusuan yembonra yensemu no lawyer edozi Tamakloe NDC legal practitioner ede A.Markin atoto ne level abusuan enye asem keto akra national securities ready former Bank of Ghana ni fie abusuan ede ensem bebre ababetu da A.Markin a press conference or catch Ghana for national securities for no abera Ernest Addison fee a wian sika ne yere jewelries be na abusuan we and a lawyer edozi Tamakloe or say o A.Markin no ayesa oka wano tum time our national securities for no or more course operation na uni hobi inti adenti na oba bontin na oba be missing for me Ghanaians. And the lawyer edozi Tamakloe aje no ho adwuma papa because A.Markin no yeni masemo no de beto dwa no lawyer na che say even issue ne kwa si ye no Ernest Addison emba bonten emba mbekasa nipa na ye kokoye ni fie operation no ba wo A.Markin no na waje esi una so a oto emfuturo egu Ghana fo ani abusuan enti no lawyer no aka na no atuma A.Markin no was schooling papa mommy enko na yenkonko ti ensema cause na answer na ebeko no owo ensem kan bia fa share comment section like share ma Akuffo so answer into me enka bi aha POG Media so madam say
even though there was a warrant for that particular exercise.
Body cams. Why were they not wearing body cams? Videotaping like what we say. Wear body cams. Now we are demanding that the body cams is an essential thing, and it goes also for the police.
Right.
We are searching. Let the whole thing be videotaped. Wear body cams. So the police spent a huge sum of money on buying body cams. We don't know what came of it.
Martin, I think you've made your point. But you see, this morning I have been listening to my learned senior Martin Amidu.
You mean Martin Pebu?
Usually Martin Pebu, sorry. And he makes very interesting points. But at the bottom, I asked myself, Martin, were you there? The resolution of that issue resolves the matter. You are speaking of an account by Mr. A.Markin without more. How is that fair? In a conversation on fairness and reasonableness, in a conversation founded on fairness and reasonableness, you premise your conversation and your submission on hearsay. You were not there. And now you take on Richard Jakpa. That is framing prejudice.
Why is that? On what basis?
You see, he comes by saying, oh, Jakpa, we kind of supported you in the past. And so you must conduct yourself in a particular way. How did he conduct himself? It would have been a different proposition if, in going into the house of Governor Addison, one, it was done without a warrant. Two, he was not shown the benefit of the warrants and what he says as we speak. Leonard Senior, the Deputy Attorney General has confirmed that when the national security entered the house of Mr. Addison, they did that under a lawful warrant. Do you know the dictates of the warrant and what is in it?
No, but do you know?
That's not my conversation. So far, has Mr. or Dr. Addison spoken? No. He was there. He has not spoken. He has not also said his lawful representative or lawyer or spokesperson is A.Markin. But you have premised your conversation on the conduct or otherwise of Richard Jakpa on the basis of A.Markin's claims.
But he raised
in a conversation bordering on fairness and reasonableness, would you pass the test?
Absolutely. Where did I?
No, hold on. I'm coming. Senior, please. When you were talking, I was making notes.
The concern about giving him a copy.
I beg
Is there any
you.
record of that as well?
Has Dr. No, hold on. Has Dr. Addison said he was not shown a copy?
No, it's the same as
Please, Senior. I beg you. Was it shown that we have? You see, Article 18 protects your property from interference, except otherwise provided for by law. The exception is when you have a lawful warrant to enter a premise. As at the time, when national security entered the house of Dr. Addison, did they have the benefit of a warrant? What is in the warrant? As we speak, the person whose house was raided has not spoken. In all of this conversation, I was not there. Malene Senior Martin Kwebu was not there. A.Markin, who is speaking, was not there. But we want to believe his version. And you see, this is what happens. We are running a constitutional democracy. A constitutional democracy that is founded on the basic principle of fairness and reasonableness. Article 23. Right? Look, when, what do we call it? Ken Oforiate's issue came up. People talk here and there. You know he issued a writ on trespassing. Have you noticed, curiously, that Richie Jakpa is not one of the defendants?
No, the two.
Have you asked yourself
officers.
why?
Why?
His face we saw. If anybody should be in contention for trespass, he should be the leader. But have you seen that in the suit alleging trespass, curiously Richie Jakpa's name is not in. It's a media framing. Okay. Put him in a bad light, hound him out of operational issues to achieve what? Which law of this republic today has Richie Jakpa violated? Which law of our land? But we have put him on the table and crucified him. Tell me one. That in terms of the operational directives, in terms of the operational dictates of either our security agencies, this conduct of Richie Jakpa violates A, B, C, D. And like I pointed out, when Mr. Ken Oforiata decided to sue the people he claimed invaded his premises or his house, curiously, Richie Jakpa is not one of the named defendants.
The police, he sued the police, a different suit from the national security.
No, but I'm saying that they went to the house.
Yes,
he led them.
This one is separate.
No, he went there together.
He only did
Please hold on. That's the point I'm making, that conspicuously his name is missing on the face of the raid. But now this is the issue. Under the 1992 Constitution, even when a member of parliament makes defamatory statements about you on the floor, he is insulated from defamatory kind of claims. So, cleverly, Malene Senior A.Markin, recognizing this constitutional protection for him, uses the premises of parliament and makes a very wild claim that, and he says, quote, a man who describes himself as a national security operative, in reference to Richie Jakpa. Malene Senior appreciate that, yes, of course, Richie Jakpa works at the National Security. As Director of Operations, he knows. But you see, cleverly, he describes him. He describes himself. When you were speaking, was he a certain minority leader or the minority leader of parliament? At least, at the barest minimum, we can have issues with people. But once they carry the responsibility of the state, at least you can disagree with him. But that is the office that he's holding.
Arrogance, condescension.
So he basically makes Richie Jakpa feel like he's a filth.
Yeah.
He's not wealthy
He's fond
of that description that is an operative. And proceeds that NDC hungry food soldiers, A.Markin, who for 8 years worked with Double at National Security, today has the courage to call people hungry NDC party food soldiers. Please, Senior, you hold a very high position as the minority leader. Ordinarily, I won't say this on air. But you see, when you disrespect other public officers, they have a responsibility to disrespect you in equal manner. Oh, yes.
It's a responsibility.
Yes. Because if you can call Richie Jakpa somebody who is carrying lawful duty, you can criticize how it is done. But at the moment when he entered that premise, he was an operative of the national security. And disagree with him.
So how would should and there is the question
Now
that
he
was
goes
made.
No, please, I beg you.
Of the 10,000 CDs. And
yes, I'm coming there. But you see, he makes that. Stealing is defamatory if it's not proven. If true. But he knows he's a member of parliament. He enjoys immunity for defamatory actions. And so he cleverly abuses that immunity and privilege of parliament. You will do this at the 4 courts of parliament. So that once you bring these actions, he quickly runs under the rubrics of having a certain protection from parliament. Look, first of all, where is this claim of embarrassment? So far, I have not heard Dr. Addison, the former governor, say that when the national security operatives, or even his lawyers, make the point that when they came to his house, they did A, B, C, D. So far, he's not made any statement. Why? Why? And so we should be very careful. You see, if we are not, a time will come, nobody will be willing to do this work. Do you know why? Because we'll get to a point where, like Malene Senior made the point, oh, GM has been embarrassed. So where is the embarrassment? I want to know. No, because you see, the mere fact, you see, I have a senior who used to say that liars do not have stamina. Okay? Liars don't have stamina. The reasoning being that you are already out there saying A, B, C, D. Malene Senior A.Markin quickly came out and said, oh, the former National Signal Bureau boss who was arrested, apparently they had put his name in the immigration records. Look, every day, here and there. You remember that recently somebody sued Ghana Immigration and obtained 900 million or thousand. Exactly. Every single day, people's names are put at the various borders to ensure that if you are traveling ABCD. When those matters, so when he came, the Yoko who had done that proceeded to effect his arrest. Very soon, the Attorney General will be addressing the press. Let's see, between A.Markin and what they have done, who is really for the state. And I will plead with my senior A.Markin. He should hasten slowly. Because you see, the danger is that if you are quick in accusing people, you were not in Governor Addison's house. But you go out there and say, hungry NDC food soldiers have gone and stolen 10,000 Ghana cedis and Mrs. Addison's jewelry. Senior, you were not there. Addison didn't call you.
Oh, that one, are you sure?
Well,
no.
Which one?
Addison didn't call him because this.
No, hold on. No, you are not getting the point I am making. So relax. I am saying that Addison didn't call him to come and witness the search. So whatever he's saying is hearsay.
Hearsay from who?
Exactly the question.
No, if Governor Addison didn't tell him this, then who did?
Did he provide you the source of his information when he was not there?
We're seen seated in the pictures as we've seen there.
That's after the fact.
Governor Addison was there. Good.
You don't.
No, you are not getting my. No. What the point the point I am making is that it is after the facts. It is not as though when the search was happening, Afenyo, was with them.
Right.
That's the point I'm making. So if he was not there at the time the search was happening, whatever information you are putting out becomes a secondary source. It's not primary.
Oh, but first, hearsay is admissible in court.
No, please, I beg you.
It's admissible.
I beg you. That's not the conversation. You are making a specific claim of stealing. You have done this law work better than I have. Under cross-examination, if you should ask Afenyo a simple question, were you there when this money you claim was stolen? His answer will not be pre-verification, will be binary. Either he was there or he was not. You know, you taught us this.
Yes.
At this point where he makes this, assuming it's even from Mr. Addison, is it enough for a charge of stealing, senior?
So that's how maybe.
Please, so all that I am saying is that we should be fair to all sides. I have sat here and questioned previously how these national security raids were done in the past. I've even maintained that sometimes the courtesy is, knowing who you are, A, B, C, D. I have been in court with former governor, what's the name, Dr. Dufo, where a prayer for bail was made for him. That, look at this man, his stature, former governor, so and so, he has served this country, distinguished person, grant himself recognizance bail. The court said no, we'll give him bail at 65 million Ghana cedis. And I said, oh, my lord, I beg you, 65 million now is effectively a refusal of bail. We have gone through things. There are better ways to do this engagement. You understand? But I'm saying that when we deliberately frame up Richard Jakpa, and look at the facts you put out, and he did business, and he got this, and he did that. Look, Malene Senior, I beg you, in the name of God, just be fair to Richard Jakpa. The reason why it's easier to frame somebody up for hounding in order to limit his operational abilities, more so when the person possibly may be doing what is legally permissible. We can always have issues and criticize, but is that fair enough? So, on this note, I just want to say that, look, where in this case, there has not been any single allegation directly from Mr. Addison himself, we ought to be very careful. Addison is a respected person. He's done his work for this republic. If in the course of his public duties, some wrongdoings were or happened, nothing precludes our law enforcement officers proceeding.
Okay.
I will be the first person to call for the protection of his rights as a Ghanaian. And like we always say, we are all entitled to the benefit of due process. I saw how President Trump had his Mar-a-Lago facility searched. There were no body cams. That's a very advanced democracy. There were no body cams. But hold on. CNN followed subsequently. But the point, hold on. But the point I am making is that in all of this conversation, we can be fair to parties on both sides so that it doesn't look like somebody is doing something never heard of. As for my senior A.Markin, he's a politician just as I am. anything that puts John Mahama in the bad lights, he has the reverse thinking that it inures to him politically. And so framing the Mahama administration in a particular light that they are doing something untoward, politically is beneficial to him. But let's interrogate the issues further. That in terms of the operational workings of the national security, have they done anything contrary to the rules of law or the rules of engagement?
That's the question that I put to Colonel Festus Obaje, retired. In the operations of the national security, as you do know it, and the execution of this particular warrant, was anything untoward done? And we'll put the Securities and Intelligence Act 2020, that's the Act 1030 on the screen. Because the last time this was amended was sometime in 2020. Mm-hmm. And Matipebu wants a further amendment to improve on the law in responding to the exigencies of the times. But this is what the functions of national security intelligence agencies are. Brief the President, the National Security Council, and any other relevant stakeholder on intelligence gathered internally relevant to the national security interests of the country. Next, also monitor, collect, analyze, evaluate, retain, and disseminate in an appropriate manner information and intelligence gathered internally and perform internally, that's intelligence operations, and be responsible for the counter-intelligence and so on, both internally in order to prevent and counter violent extremism and so on and so forth. Colonel.
Well, thank you very much. Let me first say hello to my learned political scientists and their learned legal counsels. I think the sense I get is that these events are being politicized. And instead of framing the events in a national security context, parties are choosing to make political capital.
Okay, abusia we ne ensema ekọ so political highway so lawyer Addo Tamakloe ono na chese hu se olashe afanyomakins left center back enye atamketo akra bera masisa mo jepe na ekokoti sa audio no edimai aha APOG Media so bera mase